Okay, this is Mr. Peterson. We're continuing with a review for Honors Algebra 2, Chapter 4. And we're looking at example problems 25 and 26. They are in the format known matrix A times unknown X equals B. And this is the one that you should have memorized the result here. It's A inverse B. So the memorized answer to AX equals B is A inverse B. So we have to take the inverse of that matrix and multiply it by this matrix. And we'll start that process with the little fish number. -8 minus -3. Well, that would be like -8 plus 3, so we get a -5. And you put that underneath a 1. Then you switch places on the main diagonal. So you're going to put a 4 there and a -2 in the other corner. And you switch signs in the other direction. So the positive 1 here becomes a -1. And you'll switch this one to a positive 3. And then you multiply that by the matrix we started with, the B matrix. So you just copy that. The bottom line is 25, -14, and 5. Okay, when you multiply these two matrices, you get, I'll show you part of it here in a minute here. You get -5, 10, -25. I'll show you how I get a few of these numbers later. -30, 15, and 0. So let me show you how to get this 15. You're in the bottom row and the second column. So you're going to be using this bottom row and the second column. And if you take the first pair, -13 there, and add to it positive 28, -13 and positive 28 gives 15. Okay, so now let's look at one more here. I'll show you how to get another one here. Let's figure out where this -25 comes from. Well, it's on the top row and the right-hand column. So we're going to be using those numbers. And the first pair here is 4 times -10 is -40. And you add to that the next pair, which would be 15. -40 and 15 is -25. So all we have left to do here is to take this dividing by -5 into account. And so when you divide them all by -5, you get a 1 there, a -2 there, a 5 there, and that's from dividing this one by -5. You get a 6 when you divide the -30 by -5. You get a -3 and finally a 0, and we have our answer. So fairly complex process, but at least the steps are the same every time. Okay, this next one here is the same type of problem with one extra curveball thrown in. We got to get rid of that matrix by taking it over at the start of the problem. So here's that first part, and I'm going to go ahead and take over that matrix. Instead of a minus, it's going to become a plus. On the next line, I'm going to go ahead and actually add these. And adding matrices is a corner by corner thing. So once I get this all set up here, I'm going to be adding the top left to the top left and so forth. Okay. The top left corners, 0 and 2 add up to 2. The top right, 23 and -5 add up to 18. And then the next two, -24 and 6 add up to -18. And finally, -7 and 1 add up to -6. All right, now this fits into the format we used last time. A times X equals B. And so I'm labeling it. And the memorized answer is X equals A inverse B. So what we're going to do here is take the inverse of that matrix and multiply it by this matrix. So the determinant fish number here is 0 minus a negative 12. That would be 12. 1 over 12. And then you take the main diagonal, the 1 and the 0, and make them switch places. And in the other direction, you make the numbers switch signs. And now you're going to multiply that by 2, 18, negative 18, and negative 6. Okay, so let me, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and do that multiplication on the calculator. So bear with me while I get this done here. Okay, hang tight here. That's 72. I'll show you where I get that number in a minute. 24, negative 12, and 48. Now all you have to do is divide by 12, and you end up with 6, 2, negative 1, and 4, and that's your final answer. Now I promised to show you where I got that 72. It'll just remind you of how to do this. When you're multiplying matrices, this is the top left corner, so you're going to multiply that top row times this left-hand side. 0 times 2 cancels off, and negative 4 times negative 18 adds up to 72, so you get 0 plus 72, which is indeed 72. Okay, so that does it for problems 25 and 26, and we'll pick up on the next one, 27, on the subsequent video.